G'day guys, welcome to PBHQ Live. This is episode number 342. I am Dwayne Nichols coming to you live from Wagga with all of your paintball news from around Australia and with some results from the event in New Zealand last week. You might be noticing that my voice is a little off. I don't know how obvious it is through the show, but it feels obvious to me. Had a few groups over the weekend and throughout the weekdays of last week off the back of getting a little bit sick over the Easter weekend, and my voice just hasn't come back quite right, at least in my opinion. If you're joining in, let me know who you are and where you are live in the YouTube comments at the moment. I see Alan from Chudham is in, Will McDonald is in, Brad Short is in, Jason Gardner, Estevan from the Wicked Warriors, Lance from CZ Factory, Shannon from Crisis in New Zealand, Wimpy saying fresh cut. Yeah, haircut today while the overalls were going through at the laundromat. Thanks for noticing. I don't know if my wife did, at least not at first. And Craig from the Adelaide Bounty Hunters are in at the moment, who will be, heading over here to Wagga later this week to pick up some bunkers. So excited to see those guys on the weekend. Got a jam-packed week between some school holidays bookings this week. I got a quick overnight trip to Canberra during the middle of the week, then the guys from Adelaide visiting, and then games Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, big week for me. Donnie from the Bush Pigs is in as well. Matt Bishop is in from Make It Rain, and James Rich from Wicked Assassins. So thanks everyone for joining in. And because there wasn't a show last week, if you were playing an event on the Easter weekend, like a lot of the guys from New Zealand would have been, or if you played this past weekend in Queensland or at Heartbreak Ridge, drop some comments in the chat and let me know what you thought of the events. Did you have a good time? And speaking of, just throughout the rest of the show too, because there is a heap of events coming up, none this coming weekend, but the following few weekends, big weekends. So just keep your eyes over here from time to time. If you can drag your eyes away from my face for just a moment, and you'll probably see an event coming up near you soon. And if there isn't an event coming up near you soon, like, for example, WA, I know they've got events in May as well, so it won't be all too long until you're back out on the paintball field, no matter where you are in Australia. Mention for paintballshop.com, major sponsor of the show. I mentioned that these were about to arrive a couple of weeks ago on the show, and now they are in. There is 48 different color combos of freak front and backs for the barrel kit. So if you want to get any of these in polish or dust, so shiny or the matte finish, you can get them now at paintballshop.com. This is one of those ones that it surprises me that Paintball Shop bring these in, not because they're not a good product. I mean, they 100% are a good product. Freak are one of the best known products. The Freak XL and the Freak kits, best product amongst the best products in the barrel game in paintball generally. But I just must imagine to sell every pink or purple or green barrel back or barrel tip is a real exercise, and shout out to the guys for doing that. They do have the biggest range when it comes to gear anywhere in Australia, and probably, I mean, you can include New Zealand and parts of Asia in that as well. To carry all of those colorways is a massive effort, and if you want one, well, there's only one place you can get them. So go to paintballshop.com, find the color barrel back or barrel tip that you're looking for, or both, mix and match, and you can get yourself sorted out with one of those. Wimpy pointed the right way. I've been mucking up in previous weeks that you haven't noticed, and now I remember. Lance, release a PBHQ theme barrel. If it's anything like the paintballs that come out of my barrel, it'll go nowhere near your opponents and be a total waste of time and money, so I wouldn't recommend that. Shannon saying the New Zealand race was epic. Love playing on the turf. Yeah, well, we're going to be covering that, and you may have noticed that I did a little bit clickbaity maybe, but I did title this YouTube video, "Is the best paintball field in the world in New Zealand?" And there's probably a few people that played that event that can weigh in on that. Another mention for major sponsor of the show, and I really like this one this week because there is a lot of misinformation around paintball air systems and regs, and people don't know what they're doing. And some people are really bold and try to do things that they probably shouldn't. I would always recommend there's a little warning at the bottom to only use genuine parts and ensure that your reg or your tank is empty before completing any service work. I would also say don't complete any service work on your reg unless you are confident. Even me as a field owner who has done hundreds, if not thousands of regs for the field and players over the years, I'm still at times a little bit unsure on certain things, and I'll call someone like a John Caruana who's done many, many more than me just to double check on things. But a few things that you should know about your reg, probably an idea if you're watching on a phone that you could screenshot this. A lot of this stuff that applies to the Gladiator reg will also apply to other brands of regs, but this specific is to the Gladiator reg. So the O-rings are obviously very important, particularly the one on the thread. So the code, if you're looking to get one from Gladiator, is RASP18. The burst disc, you've got them in 2 different sizes. You need to ensure that you are putting the right burst disc on the right side of your reg. The grub screws so that you can get in, and that little arrow that I've put there isn't quite nailing it. The grub screws just above that. You've got to get those out if you need to get to the internal or the shim stack if you're looking to adjust the pressure. So yeah, just get to know your reg a little bit, know your way around it. When you're talking the dangers of paintball, the most dangerous part of a paintball gun is the air tank, not necessarily the barrel or anything else. So yeah, it is worthwhile knowing your way around it. If you're new to the game, seek out someone experienced at your field, either an experienced player who's been around a long time or a field owner or a ref who knows their way around the gear, and ask them questions. Just don't go off doing things by yourself. Shannon thinks that it is the best field in the world. Wicked Assassins will be running a training clinic this Sunday the 23rd at Action Yarramundi. Probably handy timing with the Super 7s, AMs and Semi-Pro not too far away. So some of the newest players in the game could learn a thing or two along there if you're looking to sharpen up your skills a little bit in Sydney. Wicked Assassins are a good bunch of guys to get involved with. Lance saying heard some tank horror stories in the past. Yeah, well, I've got 2 that I could refer back to immediately and always, neither of which I was there for. Well, one I was at the event, but I wasn't in the room. And the other was before my time. But Kai Harris can tell you a story of his tank bursting off his shoulder and shooting up into the sky on the field mid-game, flying right past his head. And other people have told me that story from that event as well. And then a player from here in Wagga, and I still have the tank somewhere. I think it's in the cupboard over here. Took his tank, was having some issues with the reg, took it into paintball shop years ago, or went at Action Paintball at a Super 7s event. And when they tried getting the reg off for him, it turned into a projectile and shot across the room. So yeah, it can be dangerous. You want to make sure you're doing it right. Speaking of, I do have down at my feet my tank, handy bit of gear that you can get for your tank, and 5 people won them on the show a fortnight ago last time out, was these little tank vents that Chris Dickens makes, little porting hole just here, so that when you screw this down, it drains the air out of your tank. One way to be sure that your tank is empty is to use one of those. Wimpy saying that Kai Harris can tell a story all right. Yeah, look, he embellishes some stories along the way too, drops a few names as he tends to do, but that one I've had confirmed by a number of people sounds incredibly dangerous, and I would not want to be on the end of it. So yeah, good idea from Gladiator there. I did suggest that they should do some YouTube videos, maybe Instagram, TikTok videos, whatever, to sort of do a bit more of a deep dive on that. I think it's useful information for players. Results: Ballistics Unit won the New Zealand Race Series, the first event on the new synthetic turf at Arena Paintball in Feilding, New Zealand. The Wellington Rebels back together for the first time in a couple of years. Got second and Expendables third. This was over the Easter weekend, so a fortnight ago now. This seemed like the tale of 2 events the tale from the players' perspective, the few players that I did speak with, and Kerry, who was in that photo that I just had up there, spoke to him, said the event was great. Everything was affordable. The field was unbelievable. Could not fault it. And he is someone who has been rather critical of other fields in the past when I've spoken to him. So absolutely loved it. Seemed like the players all liked it. But then if we flip that around, Dave Hopkins, the event organizer, it seemed for him that it was just mishap after mishap. The paint that he imports into New Zealand didn't arrive in time. So he had to source paint from a competitor for the event and then sourced that at the price that he sold it at. So no money made on paint for the event. The paint, he wasn't as happy with the paint as he would have been otherwise with his own paint, but said that it shot straight. It was just more bouncy than anyone would have liked. A team pulled out last minute prior to the event, I think day prior to, or a couple of days prior to the event as well. So whilst Dave does everything in his power to put on a good event, like all event organizers, things happen that make it more difficult, whether that's paint, whether that's referees, teams pulling out, whatever the case might be. It seemed like Dave had a bunch of hurdles to overcome, but the players that did play the event loved it. So yeah, it seems like it's a big hit, and I would go as far as to say, knowing the time, the budget, the process of getting that synthetic turf down, that it could be, if not the best surface in tournament paintball in the world, it would be top 3 or top 5. The budget alone, and I would have to estimate, Dave's going to have to run between like 30 and 50 events on that field just to break even on the turf. You know, we're talking about a place that runs 4 or maybe 5 events a year, having to run at least 30 events to break even, not including the event that just happened over the weekend where he would have made no money. It would have in fact lost money. So yeah, that's just wild. Shannon saying that great event, Crisis loved it. And I've seen some of the videos that Crisis, if you don't follow Crisis Northland on Facebook, you definitely should. They've shared a few videos. Again, surface looks unbelievable, especially there's one where a guy goes to the snake off the brake and just glides across the surface. Absolutely love it. Jason Gardner hoping to make it to one of Dave's events this year. Field looks mint. Would be great to support the effort that he's put in. Yep, totally agree. And Wimpy saying Dave is definitely doing it for the community. Yeah, and hey, I mean, if I had the means to put on events to that scale with no desire or need to turn a profit, man, it would be incredible. And just everything about it, the bunker set, the turf, usually the paint, the Pro Char paint that Dave is such a fan of and all of the players speak so highly of in New Zealand. Yeah, they're just putting on good events. And if you can support it, I recommend that you do. And Dave, he believes for the next event, he said he can take 10 teams, potentially 12, but he would prefer to keep it at 10. And there's an event coming up in June or July that he believes he's going to be turning teams away for. So if you're watching at the moment and you want to play that one, I'd potentially get your entry in early. It seems like from the teams that he's been speaking to that missed out on this one, that couldn't make it for whatever reasons. I think he said one team was out. There was a wedding or something that clashed. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a sellout, and there's no reason that it shouldn't be. So, yeah, register your teams for that one for the next event at Arena Paintball. The other event, that happened on the Easter weekend. Jumping forward a week, there was 2 events here in Australia, that being the Brisbane Paintball League. Well, I don't know if this is the Brisbane Paintball League per se that Troy at Valhalla Paintball is running. They ran their 5v5 event up there at Valhalla Paintball. It was previously known as the Brisbane Paintball League, but I feel like he might have dropped that name. Raw All-Stars got the win. The Roughnecks got second, and I apologize to those guys. I've called them the Rough Heads in the past. I'm not entirely sure why I did that. And third was Black Flag. And speaking of Rough Heads, Mark Etok on the right-hand side there, growing the beard out and getting a win with the Raw All-Stars guys. Good to see him back out on the paintball field. This photo by Jesse Wheeler. Reports again from the event up there was good. Similar to New Zealand in the fact that they said the paint was shooting really straight but was a little bit bouncy. I do think I was watching the Broncos game on the weekend and they mentioned that it was in the low 30 degrees up there in Queensland, in the southeast of Queensland on the weekend though. So getting summer-like temperatures in mid-April, I guess that's going to happen sometimes, but everything went smoothly. It looked like a great event. Troy said that the field layout was a little bit brutal at times, and I think most of us enjoy that. You don't want it to be brutal every time out, particularly if you're an attacker up there, being the one wearing all those hits. But it seemed like it was a good event in Queensland this weekend. Shannon, for the love of the sport, what we put in is what we get out. Yeah, and there should, I totally agree, and there should be more people giving back wherever they can, whether that's running a team like Shannon does, running an event like Dave does, whatever you can do. If you can, the Wicked Assassins were in earlier, putting on a little clinic for newer players in your local area, by all means. Any of those things that you can do, we're such a niche sport and activity, the more that people can get involved and help other players out, the better we will all be for it. So totally recommend that. And the last event that I'm going to mention tonight was the results from the Australian Bushball Masters. Spoke with John Abello a little bit earlier today, one of the 8 Bush Pigs refs out at the event. A Bush Pigs ref event being won by the Bush Pigs. Well, we all know there's collusion going on there and they couldn't have won it with skill. I don't know if Donnie's still in the chat, but he might argue that. Top Hat Jokers, second place, a very famous name in Australian paintball, continuing to get podiums. And HBR, the home team, getting third and not giving up their third place to someone else for the first time this year, it seems. Again, spoke to John. He said the guys at Heartbreak Ridge have done a great job on the new field. This is the second event that they've ran for the Australian Bushball Masters, and he said that the field, the new field or the updated field, was much better for the Australian Bushball Masters. He said the games were a bit more tactical, a bit more of a battle, and it was like a bushball field with a mixture of bush, car tires, barrels, all of the sort of trademark things that you would see on a paintball field were there at Heartbreak Ridge. Photos from John Abello are already up online if you want to go and check those ones out. And I think Brad Short maybe even put them up there. Donovan saying it was amazing and they won with 100% skill. Richard Burian just joining in as well. Thanks for checking out the show. Yeah, I think, and not only that, but I think it was a box of paint per player was included in their entry fee, if I remember what John said earlier. So your cost of playing the event is low. Your day's wrapped up by midway through the afternoon. It seems like they're really angling for the bushball players to get out and do something that has that bit of competitive edge to it. So the referees are there. There's trophies and medals at the end of the day, but it is still a fun, affordable day of paintball or bushball with your mates. I think that there's room for that. I know that there's a lot of people that have wandered into speedball or tournament paintball purely because something like the Australian Bushball Masters hasn't existed in the past. Yeah, if that's your style and you want to go play that, more power to you. I totally recommend it. If you're a speedball guy, go and check it out. If you want to be exclusive to one or the other, that's fine too. Or you can find your way into playing both, as a lot of players do. Bush Pigs use 7 cases of paint. So there you go. And speaking of affordable, I should mention quickly on the Queensland event, Raw, who won the event, shot 12 cases of paint, and the team that ran last shot 8. So for a 5-man event, you know, if you've got a 6 or 7-man roster, that's a cheap day's paintball as well. Really affordable for that one. And even going over to New Zealand, Kerry was saying their paint bill across a 2-day event with more teams was something like $250 a head. And the whole event for his team from Wellington Rebels cost about $400, including accommodation, entry, and paint. So 400-ish per player, which again is quite affordable for a paintball event, especially a 2-day event. So I think a lot of event organizers are conscious of that and are trying to look after the players as best they can. So yeah, if you can go and support these events, I recommend it. Billy Cly saying Rogue Assassins shot 6 boxes, $160 for the whole day. Yeah, cheap weekend. I mean, there was a time, and there is a time, when a Super Sevens Pro weekend has cost people in excess of $1,000 for a weekend in entry, paint, accommodation, travel, whatever the case might be. For teams from New Zealand or Perth, I mean, it starts at $1,000 for those guys to come over for a pro weekend. Even there was, I think my biggest Super 7 semi-pro paint bill was about $500 a head, not to mention the other expenses. So there is the upper echelon, ultra competitive, biggest prizes, all of those things comes with the biggest expenses. And then there's events out there. If you want to go and play and keep it under $300 or $400 a head, make it more affordable. Yeah, there's definitely options for every player at the moment. Shannon Anderson saying that they use 20 cases over the 2-day. Yeah, so a 2-day event, 20 boxes of paint. I don't know what they were spending over there, maybe $80, $85 a box, $1,600. Split that up 6 or 7 ways pretty quickly. It's still looking pretty affordable over there. So yeah, really like that from all the event organizers that are involved. Speaking of saving a bit of money, good segue that I did not plan whatsoever. Anthrax contacted me last week, and last year they did a sale over the Anzac Day weekend in Australia that it was sort of something they threw together at the last minute, and I don't know if it was a combination of just being a good deal or a good time of year, but for whatever reason, the Anzac Day weekend sale that they put together last year was quite successful. So they're doing it again this weekend from the 22nd of April through to the 25th. You can save 25% off, and this is a PBHQ exclusive. When you go to the Shop Anthrax website, go through and pick out any of the gear you like, and some of their clothing and equipment is the best in paintball. I wear their pants, our team wears their jerseys. They do a whole bunch of casual wear gear that I am often wearing. In fact, I'm wearing an Anthrax shirt at the moment, which I also did not plan for tonight. PBHQ 2023, so 2023. If you are looking to pick up some gear, whether that's for on the field or off the field, you can do that this weekend and save 25% off, which is an unreal deal. I recommend it. Russell saying it would be good to see some Australian teams play in the race event. Yeah, I think once flights even out a little bit, and I think they are starting to come down, I think you'll see Australian teams head over there. Like I mentioned, Super Sevens Pro weekend and then a New Zealand race event. The cost, because the entry is cheaper, the paint is cheaper, and though like the format is cheaper, there's probably not an enormous difference between Super Sevens Pro and New Zealand race. So teams will make the trip. I don't doubt that for a second. Jason saying cost is the biggest obstacle to get more people involved in paintball. So good to see the events are running cheap-ish. Totally agree. And Donovan saying the Coffs Elite 1 5-man in June is an amazing weekend. Yeah, and that's a long weekend too. Yeah, on the I guess it's the King's birthday weekend, or are they calling it the Monarch's birthday weekend or whatever now? So yeah, I've only heard good things about Coffs too. So we're spoiled for choice. It's just, getting your budget together, getting your team organized, and getting out there and playing. And apparently $70 to $85 was the paint prices in New Zealand on the weekend, which people here in Australia would be very envious of hearing. I think you're generally paying 90 and upwards here in Australia at the moment, more commonly around 100. Such are the expenses of running a paintball field here in Australia these days. So last couple of things to wrap up on. Birthdays. Love this photo, by the way, a photo from a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, of Raina Jensen by Girl with a Camera, getting shot right in the middle finger there. And must have been some good paint with the amount of spray that is coming out of that one ball. Nice little ad for Gladiator there as well. Jacob Billy, who's in the chat, Raynard, Jordan, who was down here in Wagga a couple of weeks ago, Vin in Canberra, there's an event coming up in Canberra soon too, and Burke from MacDev, all celebrating birthdays. I've been hearing a lot about the MacDev GT2 in the last couple of weeks. A lot more people in the US been picking them up and sharing videos online if you haven't seen them. But yeah, check out the upcoming events scrolling along up here. There is a heap coming up. NXL Victoria, NXL Queensland, NXL ACT, Super Sevens, AMS is kicking off soon. The Thailand X-Ball League that will have an Australian team playing in the event. There is a lot coming up early. The Scenario event in Queensland, the Ragnarok event, that's coming up as well. NXL WA is midway through May as well. Heaps and heaps of paintball coming up in the next couple of weeks. So if your team hasn't already registered for those events, get onto it nice and early and play those ones. Donovan saying, yes, Coffs is the long weekend. Lance saying that Dave has an event in October. Get your flights booked sooner the cheaper. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think that's just about everything that I've got for tonight. Oh, and a quick update. You may have noticed down here in the corner that I've updated the prize giveaway for this month. So if you sign up at patreon.com/PBHQ, if you do that before the end of this month, the prize that I'll give away at the beginning of next month is a base Push Unite goggle. So that's the Push Unite goggle that just comes with the clear lens rather than the tinted lenses, and doesn't come with the hard case that the Push Unites can come with if you buy the regular one, I suppose you would say. And on the prizes, back in February or early March, I gave away 4 PB Athlete dry fits. I just got the update from Connor. Had a massive delay with shipping on those. They're on the way right now. He expects that he might even get them this week. And for the winners, they will be shipped out straight away. And for the people that pre-ordered them, they will also be shipped out straight away. So I know it's been a long wait for some people. I'm sure Connor apologizes for that. And I do too for the prize winners that you didn't get them when you won them. But they are on the way soon. Luke from Make It Rain is in. There could be an AMS teams for sevens. That's good. Hopefully you guys do make it out there. The guys from Make It Rain, unbelievable. Good crew of guys, good players, even better people. So good luck to them. Richard, see you this weekend. Yeah, look forward to it, mate. See you Saturday morning. I believe you said you'll be over. So keen to catch up and create some space for the new bunker set coming here to the field in a couple of weeks' time. And that's it for this week, guys. So thank you for joining me tonight. There is no events this coming weekend, but there is a bunch coming up soon, like I mentioned. So next Monday is going to be a preview for a heap of events coming up soon. I'll have an update on all of those next week, including the NXL USA, which is only a fortnight away for the next event as well. Have a great week, guys. Bye.